What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Derek the Gator here, and I'm back with story time with Gator. All right. First of all, I want to say congratulations. You made it through another week. We made it through another week. I hope your weekend was good. Thank you once again for coming back, and looking forward to entertaining you a little bit. And yeah, give you a little bit of story time. I was just reminiscing earlier today. Something I often do because I love nostalgia, and I try to think about all the good times, growing up. I was fortunate to grow up in a neighborhood where there was a whole bunch of other kids that loved video games as much as I did. So I was thinking about a specific game. Well, I should say the one game that made me regret being a proud Sega Genesis owner, I guess. My parents bought me the console, of course, but the Sega Genesis is it's easily in my top 3 favorite game consoles of all time. I still play it, still love it. I mean, yeah, it's my go-to when I think of retro gaming. Automatically Sega Genesis over the Nintendo, over Super Nintendo, all that stuff. But there's one game. This is also back when the console wars first started. There was one game that really made me regret having a Sega Genesis. It's a Super Nintendo game. It's a game that my friends and I, every time we went to the arcade, we played, we loved. I mean, we pumped so many quarters and tokens or whatever into this game. It finally came home, well, to home consoles, to the Super Nintendo, and that game is Final Fight. When this game came home to the Super Nintendo, I didn't have a Super Nintendo. My best friend did. I don't think he ever got this game, though. But when this game came to the Super Nintendo, and me not having a Super Nintendo, I was like, man, if only I knew. This was a launch title for the Super Nintendo back in 1991. Along with Super Mario World, along with Ultraman, I think Pilot Wings. But this game in the arcades, I mean, it was one of those Capcom fire games. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody played Final Fight. Well, the Sega Genesis is no slouch, okay? The Sega Genesis had a beat 'em up game as well. Now, I can only speak from my experience. I'm not quite sure which game came out first. Was it Final Fight or the other game I'm about to mention? But I know they came out around the same time, maybe in the same year. But Final Fight came out for the Super Nintendo. And I was real upset about it because it didn't come out for the Sega Genesis. But the Sega Genesis had a beat 'em up that was maybe better, arguably. I love it. Many others loved it. We didn't have it in my neighborhood, though. Another friend of mine that lived on the other side of town had the game, and I used to go over to his house, and that's how I first played it. And that game that was combating this game during the console wars was Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage. Oh man, this is a Sega Genesis classic right here. I mean, come on. So this game is the focus of this video tonight. Hey, thank you for your time. Thank you for story time with Gator. You know how I do it. We're gonna get into a little bit of gameplay. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more of my history with Streets of Rage. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for coming back, man. It means the world. I hope you enjoy. So sit back, relax, hang out with your boy. Man, let's play some Streets of Rage. Oh, I will be using emulation to play this game. As you can see, I do have my original copy. I do have original hardware, but once again, I'm in my makeshift game room. My daughter's room. It's too hot in my game room, and I didn't feel like sitting out there for an hour or so like that, because I'll be sweating more than I am now. But yeah, I will be using emulation to play this game, so don't hate me on that. But anyway, let's play this game. Let's talk about it. Let's get into some Streets of Rage for the Sega Genesis. All right, here we go, man. Streets of Rage for the Sega Genesis. Let's get it started. Still to this day, whenever I see that Sega logo, it just makes me happy. Having a little audio difficulty with my TV here. I wonder what's going on. Oh, hold on 1 second, y'all. All right, I'm back. Thank you. I don't know what's going on with the audio with that, but all right, we back up and running. Let's go back to 1991. Oh my God, 1991. What a great year to be a gamer. I mean, you had the Sega Genesis, you still had the Nintendo. Some people, believe it or not, in my neighborhood, they were still playing Atari. So yeah, like I said, I was fortunate to come up in a neighborhood where there were a lot of kids. It was at like 6 or 7 of us, and we all had a Nintendo in our homes, and a couple of us had a Sega Genesis. Me and my friends across the street, we both had Sega Genesis. But yeah, let's get started with some Streets of Rage. These are your 3 characters. You got Adam, you got Blaze. Now, I'll do my best to try to keep the comparisons between this and Final Fight to a minimum. But I will say this, on the Super Nintendo Final Fight version, it was 1 player. It was only 1 player. And as great as that game looked, that sucked. That it wasn't a 2-player game like it was in the arcades. Let's get some gameplay going. All right, okay, you got Axel, he's like the main character. You got Blaze, she's the female character. You know, she's not as strong, but she's very quick. And you got Adam, you got the brother Adam now. You know, he's a boxer. He's a little bit weaker than Axel, but he's kind of balanced, a little more balanced. Let's go ahead and start with the star character here. But this game, when I first played it, it was at a friend's house, and I fell in love with it. Let me turn this up a bit. Great music. I always loved beat 'em ups, man. It's just going from left to right, beating the crap out of everybody that stands in your way to rescue somebody or just to save your city. Look at this. Suplex. Now, most fighting games you probably played, namely like Final Fight, there's a move you can do to kind of, what I used to call clear the room when things got too heavy. If you're being surrounded and things like that. I'm going to show you real quick. This is the difference between those games and Streets of Rage. Call for backup. Everybody gets affected by it except you. I always thought that was so funny. Dude shows up with a bazooka, fires it off, knocks everybody down except you. And of course you got your weapons. But as you can see, man, you know, this game doesn't look as good as Final Fight does, but you get more characters on screen. It's not a bad looking game at all. And like I said, the music is great, and it's a very fun game. Boss time. German suplex. Listen to that music. Some of the best music you will hear come out of a Sega Genesis. That's it. Those who know, man. Now, of course, this will be a very popular franchise for the Sega Genesis and Sega as a whole. They came out with multiple sequels, many fan-made remakes, and not too long ago we got Streets of Rage 4, and we're about to get another Streets of Rage game. I want to say in the next couple of years. I think it's going to be 3D. So this Streets of Rage franchise did very well for Sega, and it still does today. For those who don't know what I just threw there, that was I guess pepper or some kind of like pepper spray or something. All right, second level boss, here we go. Okay, you want to use the little Freddy Krueger claws on me? All right. Call the cops. That is so Sega. Oh my God. You know, of course, it kind of reminds you of games like Golden Axe and things like that. Oh, he might get me, y'all. Oh, yeah. They don't want none. But this is just one of those things, man, that feels so good. Of course, like I always say, nostalgia is like a drug, but when I think about retro games, this is one of my main go-tos. Streets of Rage 2, Streets of Rage 3, they're both great. Down in the comments, let me know, man, if you want me to cover those games as well. Get a little gameplay in and give you my history on those as well. Now this is the beach level, level 3. There's one thing about this level that I really like, that always makes me smile. And you know, people, they say things like, well, graphically the Sega Genesis, you know, is not on par with the Super Nintendo. And yeah, I agree, you know, it's no secret, but understand this. The Sega Genesis was meant to compete with the NES. It wasn't meant to compete with the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo came out after the Sega Genesis, right? So of course it's going to be better. If your competition is looking at what you've done, what you already created, of course they're going to come up with something better. But I'm a Sega diehard, you know, I ain't trying to hear all that. One thing that's so funny about beat 'em up games is how you get your energy back. You knock over a trash can and there's like a turkey leg or it's like a turkey leg or an apple or something like that. And it's like, okay, you just got that out of a trash can. You gonna eat that? Oh, you gotta love video games. Here's my favorite part about this level. Who you gonna fight? The Ultimate Warrior! Trying to hit me with a clothesline, you see that? That's his move, that clothesline. Oh, got me. Okay, call the cops, all right. All right, guys, break it up. Yeah, that's it for the Warrior. Now the sequels, they're pretty good. I can honestly say though, Streets of Rage 2 is much easier than Streets of Rage 1. I don't know, maybe somebody said, oh yeah, Streets of Rage is a little too difficult. You may want to scale it back a little bit. But you can adjust the difficulty in it though. But I can easily beat Streets of Rage 2. Streets of Rage 1 and 3 still gives me a bit of a challenge. Sometimes I can beat Streets of Rage 1, sometimes I can't. Streets of Rage 3 is tough in my opinion. You know, I just love the whole vibe of the Sega Genesis as a whole. I always did. I always looked at the Sega Genesis as the bad boy console. Because before we were playing like, you know, Nintendo, and Nintendo had Mario and all the colorful characters, Sega went kind of a different direction. It was like, okay, we're going to be a little more mature, a little more hardcore, a little more darker than what Nintendo was doing. And I really like that. Little pepper in the eyes. See, games like this, man, I never get tired of. Look at that scrolling in the background. And like I said, this was meant to compete with the NES. So, of course, you know, before the Super Nintendo came out, Sega was kicking Nintendo's butt for a minute. But we all knew what was going to happen, right? We all knew that Nintendo was going to bounce back with something major. When that Super Nintendo hit, I was like, oh man, if only I knew, I should have waited. I mean, I have no regret, you know, getting a Sega Genesis because I really wanted one. I begged my parents for one, and they finally broke down and got it for me. You know, God bless their souls. You know, we didn't have a lot of money or whatever like that. But I was doing pretty good in school, and for a gift, for, you know, good grades and stuff like that, my parents, they, oh, look at that, threw me down the hole. My parents, you know, broke down and scrounged up the money to buy me a Sega Genesis. The only game I had for the longest time was Sonic the Hedgehog, and that was the pack-in game. I think the second game I got from my Sega Genesis was a game called Bonanza Brothers. It's a game about, it's like a heist game with two cartoonish characters going into a building, stealing things and trying to escape. It was real cheap at the time. It was like, you know, one of those cheap games that nobody was buying. So it was on sale, and, you know, my mom got it for me. Because I played the heck out of that Sonic the Hedgehog, man. I really did. It was the only game I had, you know. All right, in-level boss again. Oh, I can't stand this dude. Yeah, I'm probably gonna I'm probably gonna lose this round here. I'm still gonna lose, I bet. Oh, and you can't suplex him because he's too heavy. Oh, come on. Yeah, I think I'm gonna end it right here. Oh man, that felt good. You know, just something I like to do on the weekends, mostly on Sundays, because Sundays are like my only day off for the most part. But hey, thank you for joining me, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope you got a little entertainment out of it, a little, you learned a little something about the games and stuff like that. I can't express enough how grateful I am for you guys. Hey, I read all the comments. I appreciate your feedback. I like to communicate with y'all, all that stuff. But thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I hope to see you again next week. I just want to take you on a journey with me, man. I used to love Streets of Rage, all these beat 'em up games, and I'm going to cover other genres, okay? I'm not just going to stick to beat 'em ups and all that kind of stuff, because I'm going to take you through a journey of my gaming life, and I would love for you guys to join me. All right? Thank you for your time. Have a good night. Keep your loved ones close. Take care of them. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. This is Derek the Gator signing off, man. God bless. Good night.